Well, welcome back, everyone. Week and a bit off of football, and I've completely lost my way with it, to be honest. So looking forward to getting back into it. Golden Goal Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Tom, and as usual, joined by my good mate Sam. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good mate. Nice to have a little break for 10 days. Feels like I've never played fantasy football in my life. Like, opened my team earlier to have a look and was like, what is this? What do I do? Do I select players? Or, it's much like you, mate, 10 days or whatever it is, 2 weeks feels like about 2 years. But yeah, refreshed and ready to get going again. So, looking forward to it.
Should we have a quick look at your team, mate? How are you getting on in,
Yeah.
in Sky?
Yeah, as I said, it feels like an age ago, really. But yeah. Oh God. I'm just look. I sort of came back to it and looked at it and went, that does not look like a good side at all. I don't know what you felt about your team. Let's have a look. So yeah, I'm actually, quite happy with Sarr in goal for now, but he will be coming Nick Pope. Um, Obviously, yeah, a bit of. I sort of had him. What was it? It was a Friday night, wasn't it? It was a Leeds game, wasn't it? That was the one, and it was. Yeah, just completely unwolves like, really, wasn't it? I mean, he
You
came out
bottled
with
it, yeah.
that's a 0 point captain. So yeah, I've been happy with him in the previous 3 or 4 games I've had him, but certainly not happy um, for that evening. And he's going to be coming out for Nick Pope moving forward. But yeah, he's done his job, and Leeds under a new manager, you're going to have that new manager bounce, aren't you? So it wasn't entirely surprising that Leeds came back into that game, and the red card obviously didn't help Wolves as well. Gabriel, yeah, I think he was captain for me on the Saturday versus Villa. Yeah, wasn't too sure what to do there, but really happy to captain him, and obviously got the clean and the passes tier, so a nice 18. Rudiger, he didn't play, did he? Is that right? They were blank, weren't they? Is that
I can't remember. That's how much my
it's
memory serves me. But yeah, I don't think he
yeah,
played.
no. And then Cancelo obviously was also a blank. Yeah, Coutinho. I mean, he's going to be one of these players, isn't he? We've said that already. Sort of 16 pointer, 13 pointer, 4 pointer, 2 pointer. He might have a couple more 2 pointers and then back into like a mega haul again. So unless he's needed to be replaced for an absolute must for a captaincy, I'll just let him sit, or unless I need a bit of a rearrangement, something like that. I've had him for his 2 hauls, so totally happy with that. Um, yeah, Mason Mount, yeah, blank again. I brought in Harvey Barnes actually. Yeah, I'm quite happy with Harvey Barnes to be fair. Like, it's a bit of a punt. He's only 6% owned in the top 1K. Give me a little assist versus Brentford there, so that's decent. But he's got a nice run coming up. He seems like one of Leicester's better attacking players. They've got a condensed fixture run to finish. The only concern for me is A, Leicester have been pretty shit, but B, they've got some sort of Europa League conference commitment, haven't they? So is he going to prioritise that over the league? Probably, especially with their league position essentially being dead. So that's the concern. But as I said, I've got not really too much to play for, so quite happy to bring him in, and a little assist there is absolutely fine. Yeah, I still got Joe Willock sitting in my team. I think I'm going to leave him because there's another little captaincy
I
op
think
potential
you're going to need him. Yeah,
coming up
he's
for
looking
him.
like a smart pick now with that single game day. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
You say that, but his returns have been dog, really. Um, he's had a little purple patch last year where he's decent. He had a little game, couple of 2 or 3 game run where he's decent, but he picked up bonus for me against Everton, which was a captaincy, actually, I think. So it was another single game day,
Yeah.
so it got me an 8 pointer. So
Did
no
better than
complaints
Dubravka,
there
mate.
for.
I'll get onto him in a minute, but yeah.
Yeah. So I was banking on a 4 pointer, an 8 pointer, and a little bit more usage out of him. He's fine. He can
Yeah,
sit there. He's nice and cheap. Yeah, Salah didn't play. Harry Kane's on a nice little run at the moment, isn't he? So 11 pointer versus West Ham. He was my captain, so 22 pointer, 3 assists. So no goals, but 3 assists there. So Harry Kane's got quite a few routes to points. He's also a man of the match, darling. I nearly fell off my chair when I heard he didn't get man of the match in that game because he's had so many of them. But yeah, really happy to hold. And then I brought in Tony again. Not quite sure why, but um, condensed fixture on. I think there's a couple of captaincy option potentials at some point there. Um, and yeah, with Ericsson back and that little change of formation, I know Ericsson ended up missing because of COVID, I think, in the end. But I'm actually quite happy to have Tony probably now to the end of the season, if I'm honest with you. I think he'll probably get a few goals and maybe a couple of penalties. The only worry for Tony is does he keep his mouth shut about complaining about
God, it's
Brentford?
terrible, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, another video came out, didn't it, before the game, and I thought he's gonna get dropped here again. But watch this space. I did take out for a couple of those moves with Barnes and Tony. I did take out Trent. I do intend on probably bringing Van Dijk back in. I'd imagine that's kind of who I want to move forward for the rest of the season. And I took Broyer out as well for Tony. I'm not bothered about losing him one bit, if I'm honest with you. So yeah, that's where I am, mate. We'll see what happens moving forward. I'm sure we'll discuss that in a bit.
Nice. I'll quickly whack my one up then. So yeah, I've had quite a few good weeks really. My transfer count has gone to the floor. I've probably used 5 or 6 transfers in the last 3 or 4 weeks. But I've climbed probably about 400 places, so I'm really happy with that. Yeah, same as you. I got Sarr in goal. I've had a bit of a nightmare with keepers recently, mate. I had Dubravka in for 4 or 5 games. With the single game day against Everton in mind. I just thought on the night he was probably the best captain. And it was just an absolutely epic turn of events in that game. So the fan went on the pitch, didn't he, and zip-tied himself to the goalposts. And there was 15 minutes of added time as a result of that. And I think Everton scored in the 98th minute. I mean, what can you do?
If he'd not clipped himself to the post, you probably would have got your clean sheet.
Well, and the bloody steward thought it was a good idea to use bolt cutters to free him from the zip tie as well, when he could have just snipped with a pair of scissors. But, I mean, what can you do, right? Yeah. I'm glad I didn't watch the game, actually, because, yeah, watching a game when you're begging a player to get a clean sheet is torture. So, yeah, I'm glad I didn't watch that.
Especially Dubravka, mate. It couldn't be anyone worse, really, could it? Or it could be, but there's not many worse, is there?
And I thought, to be fair, it's not gone too badly because I took Pope out for him. Because I think Dubravka had like a 4 or 5 for like 2. And then Pope hasn't done that well in the last 2 or 3 games. Whereas Dubravka's ticks along with a bit of saves bonus and 2 pointers. And I think overall he's about 10 points up on Pope. So the transfer hasn't been a disaster, but I'd have loved it for him to get a clean sheet against Everton, but yeah, what can you do? And then to give me more pain, I for the Wolves and Leeds game, I had Rafinha, who wasn't playing. Then I obviously had Dubravka, who I wasn't very happy with in my team at all. So I thought it would be a good idea to bring in Jose Sarr for that game and captain Jose Sarr, because I wanted to get rid of my keeper. Rafinha wasn't playing, looked like a good option to bring in a little low-owned captain. And then you explain what happened in that game. He got a 0-pointer, so yeah, what can you do? You'd just be glad to see the back of him and just get Nick Pope in and just leave Pope, I think.
Yeah, he'll frustrate us, mate, because he's just a mid-priced asset, isn't he? And that's why they are like that, because they don't get mega hauls. So you shouldn't have been entirely surprised at Dubravka's return either.
Yeah, exactly. And I was bigging up Alisson on previous podcasts and the one I did on my own last week. I really do think once Pope has got his single game days out of the way, if I've got enough budget, I really do think I'm going to have a go with Alisson, because the guy just looks unreal in fantasy at the moment. So, yeah.
Yeah, he's been pretty insane, mate, all season, to be honest with you. Quite low-key, really. He does chip in with an assist here and there, and he often gets... Yeah, he often gets saves bonus as well.
Yeah, he does.
And then Liverpool keep tons of clean sheets. I think there's like 1 goal in the Premier League conceded since the end of January or something.
It's ludicrous. And he's, like you say, he's been getting saves bonus nearly every game as well. So it's not just a 9-pointer he's been getting. He's been getting 11, 12 points pretty much every game. Won't dwindle on my defence too much. Got double Man City, Cancelo and Laporte. I'm very happy with them. I think I'll hold them. I've got Trent. I think everyone has to bring in Nick Pope, I think, to cover the Burnley single. And then we've got a Wolves in Newcastle single after everyone's brought in bloody Nick Pope. So Sarr will have to go. And I think I'm going to take Trent out for Kilman to cover that single and then bring in a Liverpool player for following that. So that's my thoughts on that currently. Got Rudiger and Gabriel. I think you spoke about them already. Rafinha's very close to becoming surplus to requirements, to be honest, in my team. He didn't play against Wolves. He's not been lighting the world up, so I'm a bit sceptical about Rafinha at the moment. He might well leave my team soon. Then I got Saka and Ramsey. I think Ramsey is the enabler legend at the moment, isn't he? He's just going to stay in my team all season. And to be honest, with Ramsey, I'd be happy with 2 points a game at that price. And yeah, the big two, Salah and Kane up top. I think they'll stay with me all season. That's about it really for my team. Yeah, bloody unlucky with the keepers, but like most things, you pick a player in fantasy football with all the thought in the world. The actual outcome is just completely out of your control, isn't it? So you can't let those things get you too much. It's just funny.
It is what it is, mate. They said they're sort of mid-priced assets or low-priced assets. They're they're going to screw you over. So you've got to kind of accept it. But if you do get a little haul there, fantastic.
Just trying to remember what game week we're going into. It's now game week 34. I've got the fixtures for game week 34 on my screen at the moment. I just thought it'd be worth going through each of the days and identifying who the best captain might be. Although to be honest, I think it's quite a simple one. So Saturday the 2nd, first kick-off of the day, early kick-off is Liverpool and Watford. Then you got Wolves and Villa, Leeds, Southampton, Chelsea, Brentford, Burnley, Man City, Brighton, Norwich, and Man United, Leicester. I think I've got to go Salah, just because you'll see the team, and if he plays, I'll probably pick him as captain. But if not, a Man City player I think is a perfectly decent option, because they love to batter Burnley, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I think if you could predict that Man City team and you know like with confidence who was starting, there's a plethora of options in that game, but not being able to see the lineup. And if Mo Salah starts at Anfield against Watford, having probably an angry Mo Salah after last night as well, I would imagine majority of the people would put their captaincy on Mo.
It was horrendous last night, wasn't it? Yeah, if anyone didn't
it was
see
pretty bad.
He missed a penalty in, was it a World Cup qualifying final or something? Or
yeah.
And he had about 30 lasers in his face. It was absolutely crazy. I'm surprised they even carried on with the game with all that going on. But yeah,
they have appealed actually, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I don't think there'll be much that FIFA or whoever they appeal to can do. So yeah, expect Mo to play. I think expect him to play. Liverpool, again, it's like must win for Liverpool every week at the moment, isn't it? It's breathing down City's necks. But then the same could be said about City. So you Cancelo's, your Laporte's. John Stones picked up a knock, didn't he? So it's like you could probably guarantee that Laporte and Cancelo will probably start against Burnley. But if Mo Salah starts, there's just such a high return opportunity there from Salah. I just think, stick the armband on him. If you did want to take that punt, then potentially that Man City player on the hope that Salah has a bit of an off day and maybe you clean up a 20 to 26 pointer from a Cancelo or something like that.
And then Sunday the 3rd, only 2 games. We got West Ham at home to Everton and Spurs and Newcastle. I mean, it's quite a simple one for me. The only player I own on that day is Harry Kane, and yeah, I think a pretty obvious captain, really.
Yeah, well, you're certainly not going to go from anyone from Everton, are you? So, yeah, Harry Kane for me. I've actually got Joe Willock as well, but strangely enough, I'll be on Harry.
Then Monday, the 4th of April, we got Palace at home to Arsenal. I think there were 3 Arsenal players you could genuinely pick, even Gallagher as well from Palace. But I think Ramsdale, Gabriel, and Saka, they're all going to be high owned. I think pretty even on the captaincy poll. I think this could be a day where there's a bit of a swing, to be honest. I've got Gabriel and Saka, and based on how Saka has been in my team, I think I'm going to have to captain him in that game. But I wouldn't want to push anyone to captain Saka, Gabriel, or Ramsdale over like each other. I think they're each as good as one another, really.
So my thinking was this. Although I said a minute ago I would be happy to hold Coutinho, my plan pre-international break was get the next game out of Coutinho versus Wolves and then ship him off for Saka for the rest of the season. Um, the reasons for that, Saka's in great form, and we came up on our last pod, me and Ben, and said Saka could be highest scoring midfielder of the remainder of the season, and I genuinely believe that. So I think I could do that, and then I would probably stick the armband on Saka because I think Palace will probably score. I think Gallagher's a really good shout, mate. He looked really good for England as well, didn't he? I didn't actually watch, but from what I read, yeah, he looked really good. He's been a great pick all season, and could come out with a haul on this game, and it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, and obviously Ramsdale's a bit of an injury risk at the moment. I don't really know what's going on with him. I think it's touch and go as to whether he plays, but you see the lineup, so I don't think it's too damaging.
Yeah.
And then Wednesday the 6th, we got Burnley against Everton. And I think, well, every man and his dog's going to be on Nick Pope for that one, and he'll probably get a 2-pointer.
Yeah, that's fine, along with everyone else. I think he's the only option, really, from Burnley, in my opinion. Decent option who can get a bit of a haul. So, yeah, I'll be moving Sarr to Pope, probably finishing the season with him, dependent on fixture releases and injuries and stuff.
So I did have. I'm not going to talk too much over it because I think some of the questions might push us towards talking about it as well. But I have got the fixture grid that Frank at FF Stuff has created, just to show where the single game days and how the fixtures are all lying. And yeah, I was just trying to explain my plan really for transferring in Kilman for Trent. So obviously we see the lineup for the Liverpool-Watford game. So if Trent plays, it certainly makes the decision a lot harder. But at least we'll know whether he plays or not against Watford because you'll see the teams. My plan is if Trent doesn't play, I'm going to bring in Max Kilman. You get Max Kilman against Aston Villa. And then he plays Newcastle in a single game day. And then you can even go back to Trent if he plays against Man City. Or you can, well, yeah, you probably have to go back to Trent looking at it because they got Man City and Man United, and Wolves don't actually have a game in that period of time. But yeah, that's my plan. I think if Trent doesn't play the Watford, I'll bring in Kilman for a couple of games and then bring Trent or Van Dijk. Probably bring Van Dijk in, to be completely honest, just because he's a little bit cheaper. But yeah, that's my plan. Swap a Liverpool out for a Wolves. I think that'd be quite a common move now for Trent owners, to be honest, because the Nick Pope single game is really annoying, especially if both of us with Sarr, I think.
It's just the way it's fallen. If it had been the other way around with the Wolves game first, you just leave Sarr in for that, and then you just then move him on to Pope. But like you said, you've kind of got a bit of in-out, essentially. Don't need Sarr now, go Pope, and then potentially would want Sarr back. But like I said, that's where Willock comes in for me. I don't expect any more than a 4-point captain, if I'm honest, for that one. The concern there is that a load of people go to Wolves defence and then Wolves get a clean sheet. But Newcastle have been playing pretty well under Eddie Howe and scoring goals, and that's what I'll hold my hat on a little bit, that Wolves actually concede, and maybe Joe Willock's involved in some format. I know that sounds like I'm asking for the stars to align a little bit there, but yeah, that would be my plan. I think I don't actually see anything wrong in bringing in a Newcastle like forward asset. If you want it to be that way, I mean, St. Maximan's an injury-prone individual, isn't he? But Ryan Fraser's proved he's got a double-digit haul in him a couple of times, so well, could go that way.
Yeah, I don't know. It's still, Tottenham don't strike me as the best defensive side, and yeah, Wolves have been leaking goals. I don't hate Chris Wood either, and I don't know how close to fitness Callum Wilson is either. I doubt he'll be back for that game, to be fair, but with Callum Wilson in that team, I think Newcastle will be pretty formidable, to be honest. He's a properly good centre forward, is Callum Wilson. So
he is. You just can't trust him for more than 5 minutes because he's hammies. But I think next year and the rest of this season, we're not looking at the Newcastle game as an easy game anymore, are we? We're like, oh, this is Newcastle under new management, a little bit of a tougher team. A, they're scoring goals, and B, they're probably a little bit better defensively as well. So, yeah. see what happens over the summer with Newcastle. Presume they are gonna stay up, aren't they? And
I think
yeah,
they need. Well, yeah, they're pretty much guaranteed to stay up now. I think they've
yeah,
got
they're
enough
fine.
points. Yeah.
Yeah,
Any other observations on those fixtures, mate? Otherwise, we're just going to the questions, and I'm sure we'll have
yeah.
to come
Going to
back
the
to them.
question, I'm sure we'll cover some of that
Yeah.
stuff in the questions, won't we?
Let's have a look. See then. So got quite a few. And as always, yeah. Thank you everyone for both listening to the podcast and asking your questions. Really appreciate it. So Luke NDN, our good mate Luke, is asking for the best Kilman replacement the weekend after the single game day. And he's thinking he might go back to Laporte. With City's run-in looking nice, titles bound to go the distance, which means Laporte's probably more likely to play. I can't talk him out of Laporte, mate. I don't
No,
know what
that's a
you're...
really good shout. Actually, it's just such common sense. Brighton, Watford, Leeds, Newcastle, West Ham, Villa, straight after Liverpool's like passing and clean sheets written all over that. John Stone's knocked, Diaz not fully back, not fully fit. Laporte's been fantastic second half of the season, really high scorer. Don't overthink it. You like the idea of back to a Liverpool. Again, doesn't offend me either. Again, Liverpool after City, United, Everton, Newcastle, Tottenham, Southampton, Wolves. Yeah, it's also good options there.
Dave, simple goal. As always, when Dave asks us questions, I think it should be the other way around because he's doing so well in Sky. But he
Yeah,
says
it is.
the game's a little way off, but I think towards the end of April, there's a Brentford and Man United single game day. And he's just
Yeah.
wondering what the plans are for that.
So that's partly why I got Tony in now, because I actually think I'm gonna. At the moment, my armband is on Tony, especially if Ericsson plays. I think he's that. Yeah, he's kind of that important already, isn't he? To them, he scored twice, didn't he, in midweek for Denmark. Obviously off tangent, but if he plays, he's creating chances for Tony, and it's allowed that little formation change. So I think I'll be on Tony. The one reason I might not be is that suddenly Ronaldo or Bruno, because again Bruno looked quite good in the international break, starts banging in goals. Then you probably have to go with one of them. But as it stands, Dave, I am armbanding Tony for that one because I don't want to get caught in the Manchester United player trap. To be honest with you.
Yeah, can't blame you. I was just going to say, I think for me, I'm completely loose on it yet at the moment. I think there are 4 that you could captain. You've named them all, really. I think you got 3 players from Man United that are probably going to be reasonably well picked. You've got De Gea, Bruno, and Ronaldo. Sancho maybe, but he just doesn't seem as exciting an option as Bruno to me. And then, as you say, Tony for Brentford. And he's on his pens as well. He's to be fair, if you look at his recent games, Tony has been absolutely banging in the goals. Most of them probably being penalties, but he's probably one of the best penalty takers in the world as well. So,
Norgard and Ericsson as outside shouts there.
yeah, absolutely, mate. In like you were bigging up Ericsson then, haven't you? Saying he looked impressive. So yeah, definitely Ericsson looks an option as well.
We all know he's a good player, and yeah, really wouldn't be surprised if he had if he stays fit, he had a little bit of a run towards the end of the season, a couple of goals, some assists, maybe some man of the matches. I might be totally wrong. Let's wait. Let's see.
Then Gavin Chambers. So hopefully we've answered that just by looking at the fixtures, then, mate. But yeah, that's if you own Trent, I suppose. But he's asking for the Wolves and Newcastle game next Friday. He's got Jose Sarr and Bruno. It's the midfielder from Newcastle, Bruno. And he's got no coverage for Burnley v Everton. Okay, yeah. So he's in a bit of a better position than me. He's just saying, is it worth taking either of those out for Pope or a player to cover the Burnley game, or skip it? Personally, excuse me, I would probably take out Jose Sarr, bring in Pope, and then just captain Bruno for the Wolves and Newcastle single.
Yeah, I'd be the same. I'm just looking at him now. He gets a tackle, doesn't he? Likes a tackle and a pass. It's only early data because he hasn't played that much, but the last 3 or 4, he's had a few decent points returns. Yeah, I'd do that exact thing, Gavin. I really would. Yeah, get Pope in.
And yeah, I just
and then
think
just
I just think Pope's. Oh, well, I don't know. We can try and predict it now, but I think Pope is going to be over 80% owned in the top 1K. He's going to instantly become one of the highest owned players when that Everton game comes about. So I think if you're not on Nick Pope, you're a brave man.
they've got the on the fixture ticker on Fantasy Football Hub. They're actually top of the ticker for sort of the easiest. I say that very loosely. Fixtures from now to the end of the season, they've got Everton, City, Norwich, Southampton, West Ham, Wolves, Watford, Villa, Tottenham, Newcastle. I think there'll be a fair few saves bonuses in there, Tom,
Yeah.
for Pope. So I don't hate it. I see that as a move in and leave to the end of the season sort of move. And as Paul McNulty picked up on, I can't remember what it was, if it was the 3-for-1, when he did that little bit of comparison in the overhaul. And actually, Pope, even though he was conceding goals, was actually like matching other goalkeepers with cleans because of the saves volume that he was picking up. So, yeah, just seems like a sensible move for Gavin, doesn't it?
Bushy FF. It's quite a question that no one's actually discussed before. He's asking about Jared Bowen and whether it's worth bringing him back in. So we saw, I think, on this week's fixtures they play Everton. So he was just wondering if he's fit for the Everton game. Would you bring him in, or the Brentford fixture for a captaincy on that day? I don't have any like immediate plans to bring him in, just because I'm a bit low on transfers now, and I think that's a bit of a luxury move. But if Rafinha continues to be a bit crap and start annoying me, I'll probably bring Bowen in for Rafinha, but only really as a last resort. I think I'd only really bring Bowen in if I needed him for a captaincy. Whereas I think when they play Everton, Spurs also play that day, so everyone's going to have Kane. So I don't really have a view to bring him in. What about yourself?
I would want to see him back and just like looking relatively sharp and fit. I think they're actually quite low on the ticker as well. Not that it's the be all and end all, but Everton, Brentford, Burnley, Chelsea, Arsenal, Norwich, City, Brighton. It's mixed, isn't it? Plus, they've got the commitments again of the Europa. I don't even know what it's called. It's the Europa League.
They're in the Europa League, yeah. I don't know if they've got to the final yet or the semi, but they beat Sevilla, didn't they? So
yeah, so it's like they looked a bit leggy after that 120, didn't they?
the thing, and yeah, talk about leggy. I think David Moyes plays the same 11 every game, regardless of how many days there have been between games. Like the likes of Antonio and Bowen and Rice play 90 minutes every game, don't they?
Yeah, fragged. So that's obviously going to have running both competitions is going to have an impact. And because he's been injured, I would just, like you said, if I was to bring him back in, I'd at least want to see how he looked in the Everton game. But I would understand if you want to take a punt and bring him back in against Everton, because Everton have been so leaky, haven't they? So just depends your position, I guess.
Might need the fixture grid for this one. Mitch asks us, when is a good time to get a Leicester midfielder in? I think, yeah, he's saying that they've got 1 to 2 more fixtures over the next 4 weeks. And then he just mentions, yeah, there's a bit of a doubt as to who starts. Before I get the fixtures up, like you say, they've got 1 or 2 extra fixtures. Based on the fact that you're not entirely sure who starts, do you think the player that you actually end up picking is going to play 1 or 2 more fixtures than the rest? That's a question I think worth asking. But I'll get rid of these questions and whiz out the fixture grid a second. So let's have a look at Leicester and do this on the fly. To be completely honest, it looks like the hop-on point is... Well, it's almost right now, isn't it, really?
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
It's almost just get one straight in. I've got Man United, who arguably a favourite. Well, Man United aren't terrible, but defensively they're pretty woeful. So yeah, I'd like to think if you brought in a Leicester mid or an attacking asset against Man United, you could expect something out of them.
The thing is, they've got United, and then they actually don't play then till the 10th of April.
Yeah.
So that's the 2nd to the 10th. So there's a couple of teams in there that got a couple of games. So Arsenal have got a couple of games in between. In fact, Arsenal have got what? Yeah, they've got a couple. Leeds have got one, two, three. So maybe it's actually not for United. Maybe it's post the 10th or for the 10th of April, Tom.
Yeah, because like you're saying, well, not that anyone's really going to have an Everton player in, but just looking, they've got Everton play 3 games in the time that Leicester play 1 over that period. So, yeah, possibly the 10th of April seems to be the hop-on point. And then the fixtures really kick off at Leicester, don't they? After then, they've got 5 fixtures, where most teams have 3 or 4. So, yeah, you're probably right with the 10th. But again, for me, those fixtures, yeah, they're just so close to one another. If you factor in the Conference League as well. Yeah, you say Leicester themselves have 1 or 2 extra games, but will the player you pick actually play 1 or 2 extra games? That's the risk you take, I suppose.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Just whack questions back up. Thank you for that question, Mitch. Hopefully we helped you with that one. And then our good mate, Mr. Cheek. I think he might be coming on next week with Sam while I'm away. So hopefully, yeah. Hopefully that'll be nice for everyone to get to meet him. And he asks us, how do we feel about players playing for teams with very little left to play for in terms of the league? So he's naming James Ward-Prowse, Coutinho, Gallagher, Maddison, and then just picking on Leicester because they've got to prioritise that European competition. And he says, when do you think beach mentality should factor into our player choices?
I think it's a big thing, isn't it? I noticed it last year and that sort of year before. I think with Leicester, I do feel like there's a pressure because I've just been Leicester that they should be finishing higher than they are. So I don't know if there's just going to be this run through from Rodgers where he's going to want to push them to the end of the season to get the highest the highest possible return. With the fact that they've just been so poor all season, I don't know. What do you think there, Tom? With Leicester in particular.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think it also depends on how they get on in that Conference League, right? Because there's every possibility they get knocked out. So
he didn't even realise he was still in it. Brendan Rodgers at one point, he got told of some. Yeah, seriously, there was he came out and said, "Oh, I didn't realise." So it's like, would I didn't even know what it was called, mate. I had to sort of dig in the memory bank to remind myself it was the Europa. It's not really on anyone's radar, really, is it? Of any high quality. So, I don't mind a Leicester asset to the end of the season.
Do you know what you actually win for winning the Conference League? Is it entry into the Europa League? I literally have no idea. I guess it's not the Champions League, is it? It must be the Europa League. Yeah, I completely agree with well, he doesn't actually make a point about them, but I would try to avoid those players that you've named towards the end of the season. One player I think Gallagher is just going to be. He just seems like the kind of player that every time he steps on a football pitch, he just gives 110%, and he doesn't appear to be a beach sort of mentality player. But maybe James.
I don't think Palace will do that.
No,
because every season they're blooming mid-table. So does that mean they wrap their wrap it in at sort of 30 odd games for? I don't think. Yeah, maybe they do. I don't know, but yeah, Gallagher doesn't strike me like that. But I don't know if Vieira is going to be keen for that. Maybe in other seasons they have been. I agree with the point. I think I'd avoid most sort of teams that have kind of got nothing to play for. But the odd exception for me would be probably a Leicester player, but I might be proved completely wrong. And Gallagher shoutmate's totally legit as well. Like he's got England career on the line and all that, and he wants to keep proving himself, doesn't he? So maybe back to Chelsea next season. Who knows? But there's certainly other teams and players, mate, that I would definitely avoid.
Yeah, and well, I think you could quite easily make an 11 of players that genuinely have something to play for. To be honest, I mean, we mentioned Man City and Liverpool. I really anticipate the title going right down to the wire. Chelsea probably, well, they've got so many issues at the moment, haven't they? Players out of contract. They're all in on the Champions League, fair enough, but yeah, there's a chance that their position in the league is pretty much settled. And yeah, there's so many players looking like they're out of contract, don't look like they're going to be able to sign anyone. So yeah, I think predicting that Chelsea team towards the end of the season is going to be difficult. Although I do like the look of Chalobah, actually. I think he might be an outside shout. But Yeah, but like I was trying to say, you can make I think you can make a full 11 of players with things to play for. So the likes of Nick Pope battling for relegation, Man City and Liverpool title till the end of the season, Arsenal fighting for top four, Spurs are similar. Um,
United.
United, I think you can easily make an 11 of players with something to play for. And I think, well, who are in the relegation battle at the moment? I think you'd factor 5 or 6 teams in that. I mean, Norwich
Yeah.
and Watford probably down already, and then it's the third team like Leeds. I think Leeds, Brentford, and Burnley are all under threat there.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, yeah. I think I always try and I think like last season I did it. No, it was last year, season before. Sort of picked a few teams with sort of avoided players with beach mentality and went with players that had something to play for, and it actually really shot me up the ranks. I can't remember last season as much. So I think trying to get your 11 as close to competitive as possible is kind of crucial. I think that was the case when when Liverpool won the league. Was it 2 years ago? I think a load of people had Liverpool. I know in my mini league, like a couple of the managers were really invested in Liverpool, and we really were on that, or they were on the beach, and that's the difference, isn't it? Sort of once they'd won the league, got battered by City 4-1 and all this sort of
But it
stuff.
didn't
So
matter at that point, did it?
no, exactly. So I think there is a case to miss a majority of players that have nothing to play for and pick the ones that are really fighting because they just have another 5-10% in them, don't they? Because they want to go and win whatever it is or stay up. So yeah, I think we've answered that one fairly solidly, Tom.
Well, that's yeah. Thank you everyone for your questions. That about does it for the Game Week 34 preview for Sky. Anything else to add at all, Sam?
No, that's everything, I think, mate.
Nice one. We'll leave it there then. Thanks everyone for watching, and yeah, welcome back to fantasy football. Good luck for your week, and yeah, for the rest of the season. Hopefully we gave you a little bit of insight there. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.